I put them in a mason jar and I put them in the fridge next to the eggs. The cost of the surgery to extract the testicles was $20,000.
And so you didn't pay that, the state paid that.
The state valued them so much, they paid 20 grand to get them out.
So let me ask you this, was the conversation ever from you, I'm done with you, could you please get your testicles out of my refrigerator?
The whole purpose of her having her balls is to create discomfort in other people.
In regards to Dee's nuts, Brianna D. Kingsley's nuts, I wanted them back. They are priceless. The damages were the loss of Dee's nuts.
Okay, so December 2019, somewhere January 2020. Okay. All right, and so you met up, started the relationship. When did you move in together with each other?
That summer was the first time I moved into his house in Algonac.
Summer 2020, and that was here in Pontiac?
No, that was at his place in Algonac.
All right, Algonac, okay. When did you move to, and so how long did you stay there in Algonac?
Until we bought the house in Pontiac, there were like a few moments we had a break.
Okay.
Ultimately, we decided to purchase a house together in Pontiac, and I believe that would have been 2021, the fall of 21.
Okay. Fall of 2021. Is this house the 375 East Sheffield?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and so when you purchased the house in, were you on a title?
Yes, I am on the title as an equal owner.
All right, so the specimen that's in question here, did you have it prior to moving in or while you were living there?
While we were together, while we were living in Pontiac, Mr. Wojciechowski accompanied me to Henry Ford Hospital downtown Detroit. And he accompanied me 3 weeks later when I returned to pick up the medical specimen. And he heard then, just as I did, that it was preserved in formalin, a carcinogen, and it was in a biohazard box. So it was already preserved by the hospital. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. I've had no regrets. I only wish I had the opportunity to do it at 14. It would have made my life a lot less stressful.
So he went with you to Henry Ford in Detroit.
He took wonderful care of me during my recovery. It took about a couple months before I was back to.
When was that surgery?
That was in the spring of 22. We're coming up on 2 years. Can you believe it? I've lost 87 pounds.
All right, I need your plan.
Well, I had a broken heart from Mr. Wojciechowski calling the police,
Okay. Well,
making it. I'm sorry.
We'll get there. Now I'm just trying to chronologically get this. So,
Sure.
So they were in a biohazard box. So they were in the house from spring 2022. That's when they were in the refrigerator. I assume. Okay.
Yeah. So because that physical anomaly has been a point of stress in my life since I can remember. And my middle name that I chose is D because my whole life I've been called Big D. I'm D from the D. And I thank God that these D's nuts were extracted. And they were put into a biohazard bag. And for shits and giggles, I put them in a mason jar and I put them in the fridge next to the eggs. It didn't require refrigeration, but it was just how I deal with all the trauma in my life with comedy. It's all we can do. Even Shakespeare knew that.
Okay, so, okay, all right, and then, so obviously, you know, Mr.
Wojciechowski.
Wojciechowski.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wojciechowski were living together, and it came a point in time where y'all stopped living together. And I guess the relationship went awry. So when did that occur? What-
December 6th of 2022 is the night that I broke up with Mr. Wojciechowski and told him that our relationship, our intimate relationship was through, and that we could amicably find a way to dissolve what we acquired together. And I left. Mr. Wojciechowski called the police, made accusations. I was charged and acquitted
Okay. So-
because he had a PPO put in place, which doesn't require a criminal act, just the expression of fear. He expressed that he was fearful. So for 1 year, I was not able to return to my home. I was instantly made homeless with $0 and zero vehicle. Mr. Wojciechowski went back on everything, and I was not able to access any of my chattel property.
Okay.
And the focus of this case is the medical specimen.
Okay, so let me stop right there. So you broke up with the defendant, relationship done, you left, and where did you go?
I didn't leave. I was told that I was not allowed to return to my home. I was homeless. I lived on the streets. I surfed on the couches. I stayed in warming shelters. Ultimately, I reestablished a new life in Ypsilanti in May of 23. I got an apartment with a roommate in Ypsilanti, 60 miles away, and I have completely established a new life. However, I am not able to retrieve any of my items. And
All right, so let me stop. So December 6th, 2022, relationship done, and you were homeless from December to May?
yes,
Okay. And all your stuff remained at Sheffield?
all of it. The no contact order put in place by Judge Gross, in addition to the ex parte PPO, which is a one-sided hearsay claim of fear. I was not able to return to my property and get anything.
All right.
Mr. William Wojciechowski refused to cooperate. When I showed up with the police peace escort, he refused entry.
So let me stop right there, because you brought up Judge Gross. So was there criminal charges lodged against you?
Yes, Your Honor,
Okay.
and I was acquitted
And when were those criminal charges lodged against you?
December 7th. When I returned the next morning, he refused entry into my legal property. And so he called the police, and I was arrested and charged with a felony domestic violence, and I was acquitted because Mr. Wojciechowski is a fearful man, but it is not reasonable fear, and I committed no crimes. I just want the return of my items. He has admitted that he had them and disposed of them. I think that's sufficient.
Understood, Ms.
I'm not certain what all the extra backstory is necessary for, Your Honor.
I understand, Ms. Kingsley, but one, I'm a licensed, duly sworn in attorney for the state of Michigan, practice law in the state and across this country, federally and statewide. So there's a process in which we extract evidence and get to the truth, and that's what I'm currently doing at this moment. That's the reason for the backstory. So just answer the question and we'll get through this. I know it's traumatizing, but I have to do my job, okay? Thank you.
Understood.
I need to look at your case real quick.
I apologize for any implication of disrespect.
No worries. So it was domestic violence second. Okay, so charged with DV second, which is a 1-year misdemeanor, and you said you were acquitted.
In June, I had bench trial before Judge Gross, Your Honor.
Okay, oh, she acquitted you, bench trial. Okay,
Absolutely did.
perfect, okay.
So the no contact order expired, but the ex parte emergency PPO, based on fear, not a criminal act, was still in place, and he refused
Right.
every attempt for me to return and grab my items, even with the escort of Oakland County Sheriff 2 times.
Okay. Okay,
I'm not guilty, yes, Your Honor.
And that was while you were coming from Ypsilanti,
Yes, sir.
coming here for that trial, okay, because that was in June 2023, and in May 2023, you were in Ypsilanti.
Correct.
Okay, and so you said he had an ex parte PPO,
Mhm.
and that was granted by Judge Corsica, my understanding of Oakland County Circuit Court.
Yes,
That was granted on December 13th, 2022, is that correct?
yes, that's what I recall. About a week after my initiation of breaking our relationship off.
2022, all right. And so that PPO was still in place when you were found not guilty. So that was a restraining order that was still pending against you or out against you.
If I heard you, yes, there was the PPO in place.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
So I'm saying that PPO that was granted by Judge Corsica
Yes,
on December 13th, 2022 was still in place after the trial in front of Judge Gross on June 2023, correct?
yes.
Okay, so what are the two times you went to the house to try to retrieve your property?
As soon as I was, released from the Oakland County Jail, I made an attempt by contacting Oakland County Sheriff deputies to do a peace escort. And I would have to confirm the exact dates, but for this purpose, it was about a week after.
Okay.
And then I had also returned about a month after. It was when I was able to get a friend to bring a car. I was able to grab a car full of stuff once.
Okay. So I'm looking at the system, you were arraigned on December 8th, 2022, and you were given a personal bond. So around that
Okay.
time is when you attempted to first get your items?
Yeah, within about a week. And when I returned the second time to get more things, I was denied. And that was approximately a month after, sometime at the end of January, Your Honor.
Said Mr. Wojciechowski did not answer the door both times.
The police made contact with Mr. Wojciechowski
Okay.
both times. The first time I was able to grab some items, some clothing, and while enduring harassment from Mr. Wojciechowski and the deputy allowing him to verbally assault me as I'm trying to grab a few things out of my house. Literally the clothes on my back is all that he left me with.
So that first time you went in approximately a week after December 8th, you
Yes,
were able to get items.
I was able to quickly grab things in the matter of a few minutes.
Was the sheriff with you?
Yes, I had recorded the incident, well, not incident, but the experience in which Mr. Wojciechowski was verbally putting me down, telling me this or that, and making demands for negotiation. And it was a very difficult, emotionally traumatizing experience because the deputy there to ensure the peace allowed Mr. William to continue speaking down to me. And when I would respond, the deputy would tell me I'm in threat of violating the PPO.
Okay, so let me
So
ask
I
you
was,
this.
yes, I gathered a few things.
Was Mr. Wojciechowski preventing you from grabbing things that you needed?
Yes, through emotional abuse.
Okay, but he wasn't physically, because it was the deputy inside of the house with you?
Yes.
All right, so you didn't fear of him putting his hands on you with the deputy being there?
I do not fear William putting hands on me. He's a coward.
Okay, so, you were able to grab things though freely, right? Like,
No, it was not freely. It was with constant derision, deriding me, putting me down,
okay,
name calling.
So-
I can't do this or that. So with the verbal stress and my diagnoses of PTSD and anxiety and depression, and with all of which he is aware of, he pushed all my buttons and induced a panic attack. I was only able to grab a few things.
okay. The specimen was in the refrigerator at that time.
I do not know what he did with it or at what time he disposed of it. I don't know if it was in there at that time, because I had been I was not allowed to return to my home, so I don't know exactly at what time he got rid of things. I imagine he had a rage fit and destroyed everything I own, all my art, and improperly disposed of human waste into the landfill.
Did you notice any art missing or anything missing when you went back after arraignment?
I didn't notice much of anything, which is why I recorded it, so that I'd be able to review it later with my psychological conditions and with my physical conditions with chronic pain and a back broken in 5 spots. There are moments that I am not able to think clearly, especially with verbal abuse happening. I don't know if the specimen was in the fridge at the time that I returned, because I was forcibly removed and exiled out of my own house
Okay.
on false charges.
The second time you went, you said, when was that? When did that?
Approximately a month later, end of January.
And he didn't even answer the door, did he?
He did answer the door for the sheriff and he refused entry.
Oh, refused to let you both in. Okay.
Yes, he refused entry because I contacted the sheriff deputy's office, let them know, hey, this is the situation. I got this no contact, this PPO. I want to grab some of my stuff. And they showed up to escort and supervise both sessions. The second time, he refused entry and the officer told me there was nothing that I could do about it if he said no.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, the test is a red light. Should it
Yeah,
be
it's good. Don't touch it. It's on. All right, and then in September, so what's going on between January and September? Because I have an order after hearing on violation of valid personal protection order. The court found that you were in violation of this. So what occurred between January 2023 and September 13, 2023?
I'm not sure what you're asking about specifically. You're asking what occurred between 7 months?
Correct, because I have an order from Judge Boykin. He was.
Okay, so
Yeah, it was an order after hearing on violation. So there was a hearing. Did you go to a PPO hearing?
I did.
All right. And what was the allegations of that PPO hearing?
He alleged that I stole my own service animals.
And you were found guilty, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that you were in criminal contempt of the PPO. Is that correct?
That was the outcome, yes. And I was remanded to Oakland County Jail for 3 days over it. I have been disabled for a long time, officially recognized as medically retired as of the summer of 2019 by Social Security Disability. And I have a long list of conditions. I've had an emotional service support animal letter from my doctor for 7 years. Mr. Wojciechowski knew that. After the loss of my service animal that I raised from a puppy to 14, I was grieving, and when I had gotten past the grieving point, I started looking for a dog to rescue. I rescued 2 dogs, Butcher and Abby, because we owned a house, and the allegations are that I stole my service animals.
Okay.
The outcome was I was sentenced to the 3 days in jail. I think I was there 2 nights.
All right, and a fine of $100. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
And to this day, you still don't have the specimens?
Correct. I do not have the specimen. I have not been allowed to retrieve it at any point.
All right.
And he, in his response, admitted that he did have them and he disposed of them.
Okay, understood. So you're suing for $6,500. I mean, obviously, you're suing for the specimen, we get that part. But what damages, because damages have to be proved by evidence, tangible evidence. $6,500, what were you working, like,
In regards to D's nuts, Brianna D. Kingsley's nuts, I wanted them back. They are priceless. However, I figured it was appropriate to have the hearing in small claims court, Your Honor. And since the maximum was $6,500, I decided I would accept that amount for the emotional turmoil, for the stress, for the mystery. For 2 years later, I still haven't even been able to grab as much as my panties. So the amount that I'm claiming is for the damages of not having these nuts with me. I want them in my fridge, not his. I'm not sure why he would want to keep them. He claims he disposed of them. I don't believe it. I bet you $1 it's at his house in Algonac. Just like that German Nazi Hitler manifesto he has too. He likes collecting odd things. It was a joke. I kept them in the fridge.
Okay.
So yeah, I want $6,500 for the damages of not having control and possession over my own very rare medical specimen.
Okay.
It caused significant emotional distress.
Okay, so it's just for emotional distress, no economic damages as far as work, you weren't working in.
I'm disabled. I haven't worked since summer 2019.
All right. Anything else before I let Mr. Wojciechowski speak pertaining to the case?
Yeah, so I've heard you ask specifically for damages. What are the damages? How did I experience the damage because of his choices to refuse me access to my own body? I don't think it's something that can necessarily be quantified in rows and columns and datas and figures, and I'm speaking as a business expert in accounting with a decade career.
No, you know.
The damages were the loss of these nuts.
For emotional distress, okay. Mr. Wojciechowski, you can stand up at the podium. You can state your name for the record and spell your last name before clerk, please.
My name is William Wojciechowski. Spelling of my last name is Wojciechowski.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, subject to the pains and penalties of perjury, the testimony you give in this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, you know Ms. Kingsley.
Yes.
All right, so former dating relationship, you can begin from there. How did you meet her? You know.
She reached out to me for a friend request on Facebook around December of 2019. I was in night school at the time. I didn't pay too much mind to it. We kind of messaged back and forth with one another. It was pretty light. It wasn't until the pandemic had hit that I read some of her stories that she was putting on Facebook about her recovery from alcoholism. And I reached out to her because my father was an alcoholic and I wanted to have an understanding of like how she was able to overcome it. So that way maybe I could have a moment to try to, help with my dad and bond with him. We did meet on April 20th, 2020. We had chatted and she had, moved in on me pretty quickly, showed interest in me. I was just looking for a friendship thing at the time. Ended up moving things forward.
On that date?
What was that?
On that date?
Not on that date. We met up 3 other times before anything had proceeded any further.
So you get in a relationship right around, what was that, right around April, May?
I would say it was probably around May. Yeah.
All right, and then according to her, you moved in together?
She moved in temporarily for like 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, something like that, in August. Because the roommate she was with had asked her to leave. She had overstayed her welcome. And she had stayed at my house with my mom and I for like 3 weeks or so. And then she moved in with someone named Emily Winiger out in Oak Park, lived with her for a few months.
Okay,
And
so she moved to Oak Park after 2 to 3 weeks with you?
Yes. And then that went sideways as well. She was unruly, very rude. Cops were called there several times because of her behavior. She was ended up getting kicked out of there too. And right around that time, we had taken our break because things had gotten really turbulent at that time. And she ended up moving in with someone else in that same area named Elle, and only ended up being there for a short period of time and ended up being asked to leave as well, and due to toxic behavior. And then came and stayed with me again for a bit, and then I had done some house hunting, but before I had purchased this house, I had looked into trailer parks and, some apartments, but we would end up failing background checks because of her aggressive history. I have no aggressive history at all whatsoever. I'm a very peaceful individual.
So you both were looking for house shopping or apartment shopping, couldn't get approved because of?
Because of her. I have good credit and I had no issues. And then with this house that was purchased, I purchased it outright myself.
And when did you purchase the house?
It was official on October 5th of 2021. I even have all my paperwork here. Her name will not show up in any of that paperwork. There's no signature by her. There is only a joint claim deed, rights of survivorship. She's on the deed of rights of survivorship that I signed. She has no signature on anything.
So it just passes down to her when you pass?
When I pass away, she has first rights to it.
Okay.
Which today I had submitted through county clerk's office for a quiet title action. There is a summons that has been filled out that she will receive shortly.
Okay.
So I'm moving to get her removed from that deed.
All right, so
She had defrauded me and coerced me to add her on, like we were gonna build a life together. And once that had happened, she claims that it took me 6 months to do so. The paperwork shows I did it a month after, when I was permitted to do so, after purchasing the home. And she had begun to, and I felt it was too late for me to undo it at this point because I had already signed the paperwork.
all right, so let me ask you this. So you purchased the house. So she's currently on the title.
She's on the deed, the rights of survivorship.
Let's move to her surgery. So you move in, she moves in October 2021 as well?
Yes,
Okay. When does the surgery occur?
Surgery-
Explain that area.
she had her testicles removed. I believe, if I recall correctly, it was March 23rd when the surgery took place at Henry Ford Hospital.
Say March 23rd.
Yeah, it was right about that period at the end of March.
And that's in 2022.
Yes.
All right, you continue.
In the beginning, she did have euphoria over having them removed and everything. The whole purpose of her having her balls is to create discomfort in other people, which was always made very apparent right away when she received them. Even the whole time we were there, it was making everybody uncomfortable with her behavior. Again, the whole reasons for her to have these nuts is just to make people uncomfortable, to be on display. She's an attention seeker.
So he brings them home in March, correct?
No, there was a period of where they had to be checked to make sure that, there was no cancer. I think it's a procedure. When we did pick them up, they said that they were in formalin, but they had to rinse them off very thoroughly because, it's a carcinogen. But they, again, in order to keep them, they had to be preserved properly, meaning they have to be submerged in brine or alcohol, which they never were. She had talked about putting them in epoxy, which never happened. And they were left in the fridge. I wanted nothing to do with it. I thought it was odd, but I tried not to judge because everybody's a little different. It's what made her happy, whatever. I want nothing to do with them. I'm not one for body parts and all that stuff. It's kind of gross, actually. It's part of her twisted humor, not mine.
So they were in the house from April to?
They were there from April 2022 until July of 2023, when I disposed of them. Because there were multiple power outages and they were not preserved properly, and it's not mine. And she showed no intent to try to get her rest of her possessions through the courts. I wanted no contact with her because she did physically assault me on December 6th of 2022. And the only reason she got a not guilty was on the grounds of that Judge Gross had ruled on her first domestic prior to us meeting, where she brandished a knife on a roommate. And Judge Gross deemed that their thoughts were that this was just a common thing in our relationship. Brianna had made claims that she was giving defensive blows against me. I never laid a hand on her. I was blocking her hits. She was grabbing me by my shirt and flannel and tossing me about in the room.
Okay.
She was demanding rights to the keys to one of my vehicles, which I did not want to do because just 2 weeks prior to our breakup, she had vandalized LGBT Detroit, a nonprofit organization.
All right, so that was in December?
That happened, I believe it was November 20th or something. It was just the Sunday before Thanksgiving when it happened.
In 2022?
Yes.
Okay. So let me get to the, because they were not preserved properly. You disposed of them in July of 2023. Let's get to the breakup where, you know, obviously the case was filed against her in December. She was arraigned, gave a personal bond, and she was allowed to come home to what the police asked for, because we do that here one time. And she was allowed to get her belongings.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. What happened?
She came, I want to say it was around the beginning of January when she actually came. She was kind of floating around. We had some mutual friends that she stayed with, and she ended up getting kicked out of there too because of, again, aggressive behavior, disrespect. And I found out she ended up in Ohio at one point during this period. And it was when she returned from Ohio at right around Christmas time of 2022. After the new year, she then came with a peace officer to come and collect her things. And at that time, I, allowed that.
Were you verbally abusing her or anything?
No, she was verbally abusing me, especially towards the end. And she did post this stuff on YouTube, by the way, these video recordings that she had. One before where she came to the house when she was meeting up with the officers, and then one when she came to the house.
All right, so about January 2023, she came to collect her items. Were you preventing her from collecting her items physically?
No, I was busy watching her to make sure she didn't take anything that was of mine. That was mine.
So let me ask you this: was the conversation ever from you? I'm done with you. Could you please get your testicles out of my refrigerator?
That never came up, and if they were so important to her, I don't understand why she didn't grab them then. She grabbed a keyboard, she grabbed clothes, which even when she was let out of jail, I did bring her bags of stuff to keep her warm, different shoes. I even let her keep the phone that I had purchased, a $1,200 phone. I ended up shutting it off because she was just slandering me, making me out to be this horrible person, but yet I gave her back a $1,200 phone that I had just purchased, so that way she could have access to getting a hold of people to come and get her. Just like even the night of the incident when she was assaulting me and I wasn't giving her my keys. She's trying to say that I wasn't allowing her to leave. I had no time prevented her from leaving. I just did not let her have the keys to my vehicles because, again, she had committed a crime 2 weeks prior, and I was very concerned as to what she was going to do. And she broke up with me, and her name is not on either one of those vehicles. And for some reason, Judge Gross gave her the right to my vehicle in that hearing.
All right, so let me go right here. So she came to collect items, no conversation about testicles. And you're saying you didn't prevent her from grabbing whatever she wanted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go to the second time.
Well,
Second time that the police came and you denied entry according to Ms. Kingston.
may I make reference to the first time of that? The reason why she was asked to leave is because as someone that's also claiming they're disabled, they took a very heavy bed and one-armed it and swung it out and then ripped the modem out of the wall, causing damage to the wall. And that's when I asked the officer, I said, is she just allowed to destroy this place? Are you gonna just let, I have to stand here and watch her destroy this house? And he then, at that point, had asked her that she was going to leave. And I was then asked to grab a couple of the remaining items that she was going to grab on her last run, and I set them out on the porch for her to take. And then that's when she started yelling out slurs and name calling towards me.
Is that the second time she came?
That's the first time.
First time, okay.
And then the second time she came, this one I remember because it was February 10th. It was on a Sunday, or Saturday, I'm sorry. And she came at night, and she knows I'm an early riser. I work early, and I work, fairly, at long days. And she knows I go to bed, around between 8 and 9 o'clock. She shows up closer to the 9 o'clock hour, and I hear her banging on my door. I'm disorientated because I'm asleep. And I did not answer the door. I then got a phone call from an officer asking if she would be allowed to come in to obtain some items. I denied that access because I was told that she was only allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to claim her things. And I would rather have things been done through the courts where she could obtain her items and we could meet at an area where there would be police officers there, because I want no contact with this person. She's very violent. They're confrontational. There's no talking and negotiating with her at all. She just makes demands. She's a bully.
Okay. And so between April 2022 and July 2023, did you attempt to get her the specimens out of the refrigerator back, like call or have someone who's related to her or anything to come out your refrigerator?
Anyone that's related to her doesn't want anything to do with her because of this pattern of behavior. There was no way for me to try to get, I didn't want no contact with her. There was no more mutual friends because she had burned all those bridges. You know, all that couch surfing she was doing, she got kicked out of all those places. And the place that she's currently living in Ypsilanti, she's fighting an eviction case there right now. And has 3 roommates that she has assaulted, at least 2 of them that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Similar fashion as to what we've gone through.
Okay. So you filed a counterclaim in this matter, I guess, for the embarrassment, kind of humiliation in this case, like explain.
Yeah, like I want her to have all her possessions, her material possessions that she has. I don't want it. I don't have them at my house now, but I did not get rid of them. Only the testicles were disposed of because they were rotting in my fridge and it's disgusting. And I've got food in there that I want to eat. They were not preserved properly. I even have in the paperwork that I submitted through the case evaluation that she did not respond to and she owes money to. And she also subverts the courts by trying to give my current address as her primary and trying to claim that it is my secondary when it is my primary. And then she also sent me a letter in the mail, which again breaks PPO a second time, trying to evict me from my own house, like acting like she's a landlord. And she put my dead name on there and my mom's name on there for whatever reason, creating more intimidation. Which is also in the paperwork, I believe you should have. If not, I have some here that I'm willing to share.
Yes, I have everything.
And again, it's odd that she's here today. Why wouldn't she have responded to the case evaluation that happened on October 26th?
I do see case evaluation, and case evaluation awarded 0 to her and 6,500 to you.
Yes, this has been a tremendously very emotional experience for me. She has done everything she can to try to make my life a living hell. And I just want this person to go away. I want nothing to do with her. I want to move on. I wish she would move on.
Is the PPO still current? Or
I got a new one put in place because on December 17th of 2023, she kicked in my door and I have photographic evidence and the cops even have the officers, there were 2 of them on scene that had testified in a written statement of what they experienced that night with her, and they were barely down the street. She had an arraignment this morning here.
Oh, yeah, I
Gross.
see this. This is the malicious destruction of a building.
Yes,
It's a misdemeanor.
she kicked in my door.
Okay.
And I am currently working on getting quotes, and the value is gonna be over $500 in damages because the framing is messed up. I actually have pictures showing that it is boarded up. She's gonna have to kick a lot harder this time. And again, someone who claims they're disabled and they're able to kick in a door. I really have, I think the disability should be more for mental health reasons than physical.
Okay, yeah, because she failed to appear and then she called in, got reset. Okay.
Failed to appear to the arraignment this morning.
Yes.
It was at 9:45. She knew of it. She made a post about it, which I had also filed paperwork this Monday, that she had made comment about how she had ex parte communications with Judge Rhonda Gross.
Okay.
While coming here to set up that date.
Yeah, it's scheduled for arraignment on the February 28th, 2:30 in front of Judge Gross. All right, so to this day, you preserved every single thing in that house that she owned except the specimen.
Yes, but it is not in that house. I don't want to look at her stuff.
Oh, no, it's somewhere else.
Yeah, it's somewhere else. I want nothing to do with
Do you know
her.
where it's at?
Yes.
Can she go get it without?
No, we can meet up with officers and she could claim her stuff.
Okay.
But I do not want her anywhere near anything that is where I reside.
Okay. Is her belongings at like a storage facility or is it at another friend's house or something?
Another friend's house.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
She was found guilty of violating that PPO. She did steal, they were mutual dogs at the time. We had obtained Butcher first and he had bonded with me because I spent all my time with him and giving him attention. She was too busy on her phone harassing people online. And I primarily fed him, cared for him. And it was in August of 2022 that we obtained Abby through Pause for Life. And Butch and Abby have gotten along very well. And Abby was bonding with Butch and has bonded with myself. And even at the time when we were still together, bonding with me as well. Being that she was homeless, I did not see that it would be fair to the dogs to be in her possession, but if she were to be able to be, you know, at least decent, I wanted to find a way to where she would be able to have them back. But she has obviously shown no signs of being a decent human being about anything, and I've had them long enough that they are now officially my pets. They are mine, and I have no intentions of giving them back. I have paperwork to prove that they are mine. I solely take care of them. Even when we were together, I primarily paid for all the food, the bedding bills. You know, it was a courtesy to her.
When did you get butchered?
We had received Butcher December 2nd of 2022.
When did you get Abby?
We got Abby, that date is a little loose for me, but it was at the end of August of 2022.
2022. Okay, so you got Abby first, then Butcher.
No, we got Butcher first, then Abby.
So-
Butch came, I'm sorry, it was 2023, or I'm sorry, 2021, December 2nd is when I got Butch.
Okay,
We got Butch, and then it was in August of 2022 when we had received Abby from Paws for Life.
you still have both dogs?
Yes. And they are a lot happier and way more calm than they ever were when we were together.
And so your 6,500 was just purely for the embarrassment. Did you suffer any damages to the loss?
Well, yeah, I mean, she's damaged a couple doors in the house. She assaulted me. And again, this whole case is being brought up because I got her on the PPO violation. And she filed this in, she was served in June. I think it was like around June 12th-ish or whatever of 2023. And was brought to her attention that she had violated the PPO. And I also have police statements showing that she was in possession of those dogs because Abby got involved into a bite incident and she had to be quarantined. So she was to be returned upon, to me because she had to have a physical address so they could come and check on her. It was the only reason why I got those dogs back. They were gone for 3 weeks.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, it just left me. Again, when we have this PPO that's going on in Washington, I also have documents showing the claims that she is lying about what her primary address is and mine,
Okay.
making a lot of false statements on there. Yes, that is my primary residence.
Okay.
That is not her residence, and she keeps trying to send mail to the house. There's also footage on YouTube of her questioning an officer about what are the rights to being able to be able to enter a home, and that officer then tells her all she has to do is have any kind of piece of mail sent to the house,
Okay,
any kind. And then that she has rights to the house. She has no rights there, and there is an active PPO for her to stay away. She is escalating. It's getting worse. Again, I want nothing to do with this person. They need to go away and move on.
okay. And so I see you said a theft of your dogs. Did you get the dogs back?
Yes.
Talking about Abby and Butcher?
Yes, 3 weeks later, someone else brought them back to me that she's accusing of stealing the dogs, but there's no way. They're pit bull mixes. Nobody's gonna come approach two big pit bull mixes that they've never met before. And plus Butch is part hound. That dog sounds off for everything. He did not make a peep when they left. I was at home that day. She stole them on February 14th, Valentine's Day. I wasn't feeling well that day. I was at home meal prepping. And I check on my dogs about every 15, 20 minutes when they're outside. And I had noticed that they were gone. I was gonna give them
What year was that? February 14th?
2023.
Okay.
3 days prior, she showed up to the house with the officers trying to get more of her things. So this was a retaliation tactic. She stalking the area, again, violation of the PPO, and stole them.
Okay. All right, I'm all set. All right, thank you, sir. So, essentially, we're not gonna rehash the facts, but both lived with each other beginning in October 2021 at the house on. There was an event that occurred, so fall of 2021, both lived at 3. Ms. Kingsley stayed there on the title. We both were on the title. The spring of 2022 is when the surgery occurred at Henry Ford to remove Ms. Kingsley's testicles. They were preserved in a biohazard bag. They're put in the refrigerator starting around that time, spring 2022. They were put in a mason jar next to the eggs in the refrigerator, according to Ms. Kingsley. Mr. Wojciechowski did not deny that or reject that claim that they were in the refrigerator. And we do know that on December 6, sometime in December 2022, there was a domestic violence incident between Mr. Wojciechowski, Ms. Kingsley was the aggressor. She was charged with domestic violence second, and then subsequently acquitted by Judge Gross here at the 50th District Court on June 2023. But on December 6th, when she got arrested, there was a no contact order, obviously, from the court. She was released on personal bond. And so she had 2 chances to recoup her items, along with the specimen that was in the refrigerator. Somewhere around the arraignment time, after the arraignment time on December 8, 2022, she was given $2,500 personal bond. And normally, in the course of domestic violence cases here, the 50th District Court, we allow a one-time with the sheriff's officer to allow the defendant to go back to their place of residence and retrieve some things. Ms. Kingsley failed to retrieve the testicles from the refrigerator. And then she tried to come back again for a second time. However, she was denied entry by Mr. Wojciechowski, rightfully so, because she was only allowed one time entry into that house to retrieve things. Because if you note, she was charged December 2022, and she was acquitted June 2023. So she was essentially on pretrial release with the conditions of that one-time entry to go to the house was in place. She already used that one-time entry, so therefore she was not allowed to go back to the home again. And then during that time as well, at the end of there was a PPO out against Ms. Kingsley as well as the case. So there was essentially 2 restraining orders against Ms. Kingsley. But once she was acquitted on June 2023, the court lost jurisdiction on her, but she still had the PPO against her that was granted by Judge Lisa Gorsica on December 2022. So around the same time she was charged, that was still in place. She was found in violation in September by Judge Boykin, a visiting judge at 6th Circuit Court. She was given 3 days in Oakland County Jail, a fine of $100. To this day, she has not received a specimen. But all of her remaining items are somewhere except a specimen. And Mr. Wojciechowski said because they were not preserved correctly, the house was losing power, and she no longer lived there, that he discarded them. My ruling is obviously she was there. I don't know why Ms. Kingsley didn't think about the specimens. I don't know why Mr. Wojciechowski was so grossed out. He didn't say, hey, if you don't grab one thing, you're going to grab these testicles out of my refrigerator. And so, I kind of, find them both liable there. More so, I would say Ms. Kingsley, because if they were so important to her, so super important, that she should have grabbed them. She had an opportunity to grab them. The officer was there. She was not being restrained. She said she was being verbally abused to, but Mr. Wojciechowski said she was tearing up his house. They were not preserved. She was no longer there. I can't award her the specimens because they're gone. There's no debate that the specimen is gone. So I can't award you specimen, but I can award you money. However, in the counterclaim as well, I can award Mr. Wojciechowski money as well. And so, I don't know how much the specimen cost, $6,500. And that's specifically why I asked you, because the money aspect of it is, I can put a dollar amount on missing 80 hours of work, making $16 an hour. I can do that. But as to, testicles or specimen, I can't really put a number on it.
I do have that number, Your Honor. There is a number. I just remembered. I got a bill, and the cost of the surgery to extract the testicles was $20,000.
All right.
Which she did not pay.
That is your number. That was the cost to acquire.
Right, I understand that. And so you didn't pay that, the state paid that, so.
That is the value of it.
Right.
The state valued them so much, they paid 20 grand to get them out.
Okay, so that money will go to the state, but the state is not here to make that claim, so we're not gonna.
They're giving to me, it was paid for on my behalf because I'm indigent,
Okay.
because I'm disabled, I'm not able.
Okay, I understand that, Ms. Kingsley, but you're not gonna be unjustly enriched. That's called unjust enrichment. That
They were my testicles,
Okay.
and now they're gone. They were properly preserved, and I can establish fact. I'd like perhaps another opportunity to establish and disprove his allegations that have no basis in actual substantiated fact.
Ms. Kingsley,
All these allegations that the criminal stuff doesn't matter, it's already been reviewed. He said he had them, he said he threw them away. The value was $20,000 paid on my behalf because I'm disabled and worked 25 years to pay into the system. The value of those testicles is, I can show you the invoice from the hospital.
understood. So, Ms. Kingsley, and then also, let me put for the record, there was a case evaluation done.
I haven't been served. I'm not aware of this counterclaim stuff. Like, that's separate.
The case evaluation.
Either way.
Ms. Kingsley, I've been patient enough. But you need to ask these people in the courtroom. Okay. Final case status was rejection. The award was $0. Original claim is 0 to the plaintiff, which would be Ms. Kingsley, and $6,500 to the defendant. So the people, the case evaluation, even saying Ms. Kingsley doesn't have the case, and that $6,500 should be awarded to Mr. Wojciechowski because of him being harassed. Obviously, there's a PPO against you, Ms. Kingsley.
An ex parte.
Ex parte. But then there is a.
It's not based on fact. It's based on his.
Ms. Kingsley, Ms. Kingsley, Ms. Kingsley. There's a violation of that personal protection order, and then a judge said you violated the personal protection order.
And I served 3 days for it.
Exactly, so there was.
It's not relevant. We're talking about my nuts, not anything else that he brought up.
I understand, but he is suing for public harassment, humiliation.
Are we reviewing his suit? I wasn't aware of a countersuit.
Worldwide news outlet, YouTube, and
Yeah.
other chambers on the street, harassment and stalking and theft of the dog.
Okay, I am not responsible for the news media.
Emotional distress. So what he's claiming is that, the dogs were stolen. He got the dogs back. I'm not awarding that. You've harassed him and kicked the door in, but we're here on a specimen. I can't give you a specimen back.
Right, so therein lies my damages.
But
For the value of them, they're
they're
irreplaceable.
not your damages.
They absolutely are, they're my balls.
Okay.
How are you saying that he gets awarded for stealing and throwing away my balls?
Ms. King.
It's beautiful, either way, we will appeal and move forward
Ms.
because
King.
you are not basing it on substantiated fact, but
Ms.
hearsay.
King, listen.
Your Honor.
Listen, 1 second, Ms. King, listen. One, you cannot appeal the small claims court. That's just a reading of the law, one, so you can't appeal this decision, period. And then 2, the state paid $20,000. You are not the state. Show me a bank account statement where you paid $20,000.
I can
Cannot do
absolutely,
that.
I can list out an expense report in the amount of $6,500 if you would like me to do so. I absolutely can.
Why did you not include that here today to bring that as evidence?
Because I'm disabled and I'm trying to keep up with all this stuff. Why didn't I bring it today? Because I didn't know that's how it worked. The notice I got said a hearing, not. So I am hearing you say things that are not factual and that I can prove and disprove, Your Honor.
So all I'm wanting to know is, you cannot get the testicle back, the specimen back.
Right.
You cannot pay $20,000 from. I cannot just freely give.
Okay,
out
but you
damages.
started, if I may, Your Honor. If I may.
Damages have to be proved. That's why the question toward damages was very specific.
Yeah,
Did you work?
and
Did you
I
provide
also,
accounting?
I have
You
24.
You said straight, no, the $6,500 is straight for the testicles.
And I also
Alright.
said I just remembered because I have memory issues. I told you when I remembered, oh, actually, there is a value because, Your Honor, if I may, you said I can't quantify a value for these testicles. And then I remembered, oh, we absolutely can. It's worth 20 grand to the state.
All right, let me stop
And
you right
I
there.
cannot
Let me
replace
stop you
that.
right there. Let me stop you right there. You said 20,000 to who?
It was worth it
So
for them to
it was
pay it on my behalf,
The
my
state,
balls.
the state paid 20,000,
So
right?
there's your value.
But did you pay it?
That wasn't your
So your award
statement.
is
You had
$0.
said,
Thank you.
sir, that
We're
you
all
couldn't
set.
quantify the
And
value.
that's your counterclaim, sir.
So he gets $6,500 for throwing the balls away? That's what it works out to, you saying?
I'm not giving him $6,500. It's a wash.
Thanks,
Wash.
Sir,
He
I
didn't
really
lose
don't care
anything.
about the money. I just want this person on.
Well, then, may we also set a time and date for me to acquire my things, because I was not able to gather my entire household of things. I was homeless. The ability, a PPO based on hearsay, it's ex parte, it's the biggest
Well, let me.
scam in Michigan, it's all hearsay.
If you would
Yes,
just
Your Honor.
people calm down.
I apologize for my intensity, but we're talking about my life and my body parts that cannot be replaced, that were stolen, admitted to.
We're all set. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You have a good day, we're all set.
Yes, the award is $0 for you, the plaintiff and the defendant.
Oh, yeah. Should I go first?
Yes.
Okay, y'all have a lovely day. Be blessed now.
Just wait a few minutes for.
Oh, I know the drill. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Honorable, Bowie. I appreciate your ruling today.
Take care. Thank you.